Spring is an exciting time of the year, but if you're a beginner gardener or new at this, sometimes it can be quite intimidating. In today's video, I'm going to go over some of the basic terms that we as gardeners use, such as hardening off, or take you through some of these little simple steps that we do to take our seedlings before we put them and plant them out in the garden to have the maximum success for your garden. You're in the garden with Patrick. So one of my favorite things to do is take something like this, a seed packet, plant those seeds. They grow into these little seedlings, and then they eventually grow to a larger size like this. These are getting pretty close to being planted outside. But to make sure that you have success with putting this plant, and it can be any plant, this is a tomato plant, but it could be a bell pepper, it could be a cucumber, any kind of plant that you're going to be planting, you want to make sure that you do that correctly, or else you're going to fail with once you have this plant here and you put it out in the garden. So today I'm going to show you some simple terms that we use, but again, this will ensure that you will have a great opportunity for your seedlings to grow and thrive throughout the summer. So as you can see here, my shelving and lighting system is pretty empty right now. Well, there's a reason for that. What we're trying to do now as we get closer to taking and transplanting our seedlings out into the garden, we're going to do several things that will ensure that they survive the winter, the summer, the spring and the summer. So first and most importantly is when you do plant your seeds, you're going to see that they're going to start popping up here. And you can see here, this is a really new one right here. And these are my sweet bell peppers. What happens is as they grow, you're going to want to continue to allow this growth of the seeds until you get what they call a second leaf, okay, or a true leaf. So this leaf right here, or this plant, you can see it's only got 2 leaves. These are the first leaves that come out from your seed. So it'll has all the nutrition that comes from the seed, and you'll see again there's nothing else except those 2 little leaves here. Now as they develop, this is I just want to show you this. This is beautiful. So see, you can see here the seed. Let's see if I can get it. There you go. So see how that seed is still on that seedling. So, and on this one also. So they're starting to come out. And now if you can see though, what's really important on this particular one here is you can see, and we'll just take that off. Okay, so you can see here, that's the first set of leaves, but look here now, you also have a second set of leaves. These are what we call the true leaves. The true leaves are the leaves that are kind of signaling to you that it might be safe for you to start transplanting these small cells into a larger pot. We'll often refer this to potting up, but basically that's what you're going to do. You're going to take these small seedlings and you're going to pot them up to another larger size so that they can start to grow. Now, if you look here, again, this particular cell, it's got 2 plants. There's different strategies that you can do. What I often will do is I'll transplant this exactly the way it is, and I'll let this grow a little larger, and then I might separate them at that point, or you can thin them out. We'll go over that in just one second. So just wanted to show you that. So then as these plants get larger, then you can transplant them into a larger area like this, and then they just continue to grow. So if you want to learn more about gardening, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video and share it with your friends. We'll give you more information. I have a bunch of videos on exactly what we're talking about today in a full video. So today we're just kind of going over some of the simple things. So if you can see here, the seedlings that I have, they're getting larger, And again, different plants have different growth, and actually even some of these different tomato varieties are growing differently. So for example, this is a prudent purple, and this prudent purple, there it is, sorry. The prudent purple is a little bit smaller, and they're all seeded at the same time. But you can see here that this cherry tomato, make sure it's a cherry. Yep, it's a cherry tomato. This cherry tomato is much larger. It's probably double the size compared to the other one. And then of course the better boys are even a little bit bigger in my beefsteaks. So the beefsteaks actually are a little smaller. Those are the beefsteaks. So what you're going to see though is how these are going to continue to grow, and how you fertilize them is the next thing that we'll talk about. Okay, so let's talk about watering and why it's important that you water from the bottom of the container. And then of course the other question is when do I water? So these are some chili peppers that we have. These are Anaheim Hatch Anaheim chilies, and if you see here on the top of the container, this soil is pretty dry. But you see that the seedling is still pretty healthy. That's going to give you an indication that it is time that you're going to be watering your plants. So you can see here some of that is dry, and then another part of that is wet. So this could maybe go another day or so before I actually water them. But again, I'm going to water these so that they're all together. There's all kinds of things that you can use to hold your plants in a container. You can use a plastic container. What I find is very helpful are these little aluminum containers that you know, when you're getting food, you can buy these at the Dollar Tree, or get those for pretty inexpensive. But what I want to show you is two things. The first one, what's most important that you really want to do when you are watering your plants, is to do what we call bottom watering. If you take your water and you put it in this container, you want that water to start to wick up into the plant. So as you're putting the water on the bottom, those roots will start to look for the water and start to grow deeper. That's how you get a lot better deep root system, and a good developing root system. Now I'm going to do this, I don't recommend this, but this is another thing that why you don't necessarily want to water on top. Now you could, again, accidentally just water and you can hit that plant, and you see how that just knocks that over. Again, you could be gently put that in that area, but again, why even worry about that? That's the first thing. The second thing is sometimes you'll develop some mold, or and it's pretty harmless, but again, you might develop some kind of a mold on top of your plants. So it really is best to bottom water. Now, oftentimes people ask me, when do you fertilize? Most important thing is when those seedlings are small like this, and you see these don't have a true second leaf or a true leaf, these are not going to be appropriate to fertilize because they're really still living off the nutrition from the seed. So when they get to this size here and you start seeing those leaves, the true leaves, the second leaves, and more from there, you can start thinking about fertilizing your plant. And of course, it is important that you fertilize. Now, at this stage of the game, you can use a liquid fertilizer. I would recommend that. You do not want to use a granular fertilizer at this stage of the game. And the reason is because when you have the slow release grain or granular fertilizer, it's just going to take too long to break down. You want something in your plants that is going to allow the nutrition to be absorbed right away. You can use the typical, which a lot of people will use, which is the fish emulsion. But again, that really kind of smells pretty bad, especially if you have your seedlings in your house. I have mine in my garage, but still, I don't like that smell as much as I can just put it outside in my garden. So I do use it outside, but inside I will use a water-soluble fertilizer. But so when you're fertilizing, you want to make sure that you don't burn your new seedlings. So what you're going to do is you're going to try and mix up a solution that is usually about a quarter strength, a quarter to about a half strength. So when you're looking at that and you're mixing that up in your garden, you want to make sure that you just put about a quarter strength of your fertilizer, and then of course bottom water. So these are some of the plants that I have, and again, this is beautiful kale that's coming up. I have some bok choy. We also have some chamomile, basil. I have tomatillos. We have bell peppers. We have also a lot of different types of chilies from Hatch, the famous Hatch Valley, and we are also selling those at our annual plant sale. So if you are interested and you're local here in El Paso, we will be having that. I'll be posting that. But let's talk about the next thing that people often will discuss, which is hardening off of your plants. So there's really two major reasons why you want to start hardening off your plants. The first and most important is the sunlight that is currently available to them as they're growing in these seedlings is not as intense as the sun during when you plant your plants out in your garden, and that intensity will definitely burn your new seedlings if you put them directly outside into the garden. So one of the things that you do want to do is do what they call hardening off. When you harden off your plants, you'll put them in the sun. You can even put them in a little indirect sun, but if you put them in the sun like I have here, you want to only kind of gradually introduce them to the sun. Put them in the sun for maybe 30 minutes to an hour every day for about 7 to 10 days. And then they should be ready to be hardened off enough that you'll be able to put them into the garden, and they'll have that 8 to 10 or 12 hours of that intense sun from the while they're in the garden. The second thing is, one good reason, especially when you have a nice little gentle breeze, is that will also help with the stem being stronger. So you can see here how when the wind blows, the plants will move, and what will happen is that strengthens the stems here so that they will be a lot stronger. So this is another reason why you want to start to harden off your plants during the season before you plant them. Now, another term that you're going to see or hear a lot is my seedlings or my plants are leggy, or they're too leggy. What does that mean? So when you have a plant like this, see how these are, they have a very long stem, and then you can see here the leaves are very tall. So what will happen often when you have leggy seedlings, whether that's a tomato plant or a pepper plant or jalapeno or something like that, they're going to always want to reach for the light. So when you plant and you plant your seedlings, this is one of probably the biggest error that I see and hear about from beginner gardeners, is that you put your plants, once they break that soil, so you're going to see something like this again, we showed you here, this one right here, it's just barely breaking the soil. And so when you have something like that, they're just barely breaking the soil, they are going to look for the sun or look for the light. So if the light is far away, this is going to cause your seedlings to search for that sun. So when you plant, you want to make sure that your light source is about 2 to 3 inches away from the seedling. So in this particular case, this is way too high for even these. So I'm going to put these up a little bit higher, maybe around this area. So they're about 3 to 4 inches, maybe no more than 3 to 4 inches from that light source. And then as they grow, then larger, then I'm either going to bring this down, or again, you could leave them here and bring the light source down. It doesn't really matter, whatever works best for you in your situation. So That's one of the big errors that most people will do. I would say that the option when you do have leggy seedlings is there's really not a whole lot of options available to fix that unless it is a tomato plant. Tomato plants, remember, do have those areas along the stem that will develop growth from a new root system. So you could actually take, say for example, well, let's show you this first, and then I'll show you an example on the tomato. So in this case, I don't want to plant this deeper when I pot it up and to here, because this is again just a regular type of plant. So you don't want to do that with your regular seedlings, like a pepper plant or like a bell pepper or chili pepper or any of those kinds of things. Basil, you don't want to put them deeper than where you have them. The tomato plant, however, you can do that. Now this tomato plant is not leggy, okay? But just so you know, so you can kind of get an idea of if you did have a leggy tomato plant, you can certainly, and I would also recommend anyway that you, once you transplant this into the ground, that you transplant that maybe 3/4 of the way. So I would probably transplant this plant up to here. So this is all going to be in the ground. And the reason is if you look closely here, you're going to see those little hairs that are on the side of the, all the way running up and down of that tomato plant. Those will turn into the root system. So tomatoes are great. If you have leggy tomatoes, no worries, just let them go. And then when they get larger, you pot them up and then you can bury them deeper. But again, something like a bell pepper or a chili pepper or something like that, you certainly don't want to do that. Now I have some other videos if you're interested. I'll put the links below on how to start your seeds. It's probably not too late or early spring to do that, but I also have a lot of transplanting your seedlings into the garden and how to do that. So if you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, that would be helpful. Now that your seedlings are a little larger, now you can either make the decision to either separate them or you can thin them. When I plant seeds, I'll often plant them far apart so that when they do come up and they germinate, I'll have them separated enough that you're not going to harm the root structure. And I'm going to probably be able to take this plant, these two plants that is in this pot, as they grow a bit larger, I'll be able to have two jalapeno plants now instead of just the one, instead of doing the thinning versus the separating. So if I were to thin this, I'd just cut one of these out. But again, when they're far apart like this especially, this is an excellent opportunity and that you can double the amount of plants that you have. My paprika, however, are a little too close together. So if you can see how those germinated pretty close together. So I may just not want to separate these and potentially damage the roots system. So I'm just going to probably just snip this one here. And again, which one would you choose? You choose the stronger one. So that's going to be this one here. It's a little bit better, stronger, larger versus this one. But I often like to let them grow a little bit larger. That gives you a better idea of how they're going to grow, because maybe something happens to one of these plants and it dies. And then you lost both of them. So because you thinned out that plant. So I like to let them grow a little bit larger and then we make that decision. So thanks again for watching. I hope you learned something in this video. If you did, give that a like. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. I have a lot of great content that's going to be coming out here shortly. I'm going to be doing a video on how to do a plant sale. I've been doing this for many years. You know, all these plants here, I'm going to keep some of them obviously for my garden, but a lot of this that I'm growing here are going to be for that plant sale that I will be having. And so I want you to consider maybe doing something like that also. So if there's anything else that you are interested in, put a comment below. And if you found some value in this, please like and share this with your friends. Until next time, happy gardening.